Welcome to Therapy, Tech, and Takeout. We're an entrepreneur and therapist exploring how technology is shaping mental health and what it means for how we live, connect, and care for ourselves. I'm Toni Teixeira. I'm the therapist.
And I'm Jackie Toll. I'm the entrepreneur. And welcome to Therapy, Tech, and Takeout. Hey, Toni, how's it going?
It's going well, Jackie. How are you?
Fantastic. I love the new intro. Thanks for putting that together.
You're welcome. Thought it as we've been shaping the podcast, it says more about what we've been doing. So glad you like it.
Absolutely. How's everything been going with you? Anything new you're vibing on this week?
Yeah, this week we're vibing on planning our fall vacation. So really
Yay!
excited. Yeah, my husband and I have been talking a lot about where we want to go and what do we want to do. We're planning a trip to Yosemite and Sequoia National Park.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, you're going to love it. Have you been before?
No, we haven't. Have you?
I have. My uncle actually used to live out there before he passed away. And so even after he passed away, since it's a long way for my parents to travel across the country, I went out there and helped pack everything up. And I made quite a few trips out there. And so it was my first time out there alone. And one of his neighbors had the national park pass. And so I was able to go pretty much as often as I wanted. It was wonderful. You're going to love it.
All right, so I'll have to pick your brain a little bit. And Sequoia National Park, so I want to see the big
definitely.
trees.
Yeah. And if I can throw in another recommendation, it's in Fresno, but it's this underground grotto that this guy built. Have you heard of it? I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but our mutual friend had recommended it to me, and it was a highlight of one of my trips out there as well. It was really, really cool. So I would definitely say to check that out as well. Well, okay. I'm so excited for you guys.
Email me that info. We're going to have to talk about
will.
this.
And I will throw it in the show notes too, in case anybody else is out in that area. It is definitely worth a stop. I love the idea of just ingenuity and, sort of single-mindedness and making something that's lasted like this. It's a very inspirational kind of place.
Very
so cool.
Yeah. And what's new for you this week? What's happening?
I have just been so busy, and I've been doing so much work and driving. I'm trying to get out there and hand out promotional materials and stuff, and my muscles around being able to kind of manage all of that stuff have atrophied, I think, over the past few years. So I'm working them back out and trying to make sure I keep everything, stay on top of everything a little bit more effectively, since I'm kind of on my own. Being in the corporate world for so many years, I had administrative help and things like that. So there was always somebody to help make sure. And I'm realizing I need to go back to my old notebook and lists, and I got to get a purse that I can fit my notebook in, because I need to be with it. I haven't been able to do it with notes on my phone. So I'm readjusting. And I think to that end, I had an interesting short story I wanted to share as it related to you. So last week, Toni had sent me something. Do you want to say what it is? Or?
Sure. You could say what it is.
So it was the bio for her new book, which we're all very excited about. And she was just asking me to review it and give feedback. I was so excited to do it. Then I spaced out about it. And then Toni followed up with me. And I read it, and as I was getting ready to respond, because I'm I need to respond now, otherwise I could forget about it again. And so as I did that, I was oh my gosh, I'm also about to be late if I don't leave right now to get to a volunteer gig I had. So I was I had already read it, and I kind of knew I love it. No notes really. But then I'm also Toni's done so many cool things. Maybe if I could give her find a couple of those other cool things, throw them in there as an option, whatever. I'm I'll just use Gemini, and I can talk to it while I'm driving and tell it what I want, and have it help me with the recommendation. And so it recommended a sentence. And then I was well, I can't trust AI. So let me make sure that the things that this sentence said she did, she really did. So I even went and fact checked those things. And then I sent it to you, and I was I think it's perfect, and I hadn't really thought through the underlying thing, but I was you could help, if you wanted to, you could hype yourself up a little bit more, was kind of where I was going with it. But I gave you the sentence, and you're that's the exact sentence that was already in there. And I was oh my gosh, I knew I needed to check AI for accuracy. I didn't realize I needed to check it for just plagiarism and lack of originality. So that was a new lesson I learned this week, and I apologize for that. But
no apologies necessary. Now it all makes sense. And it's kind of interesting. I feel a little stalked by AI, by Gemini, right?
Right. Fair.
It knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, really strange. So that takes us, I think, to our topic for this
Yeah.
week, which is an article from The Guardian about how a Claude-powered AI agent deleted an entire company's production databases and their backups. And then when asked why, it was like, oh yeah, I just violated all the rules you gave me.
Okay, so let's slow this down. You have to talk
Yeah.
to me like I'm a 5-year-old, Jackie. What is an AI agent? Let's start there. Like, what is that exactly?
So an AI agent is basically like a tool that you can use. So you can have like multiple agents doing, you kind of want to have it as like a single focus thing.
So is it like it's like a chatbot that I train to do a job for me? Is that,
Yeah.
I have that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it could be like, hey, review all the data that gets input into our system on a daily basis and flag anything that looks like it might be an error or something like that.
But
and it
this
could
is
definitely be way
running-
more specific.
Yeah, and it's running in the background. It's not like you set it and go and it does its thing, right? Like, is that why it's an agent? Because you set it
Yeah.
up and then it just keeps doing its thing.
It just keeps doing
Okay.
its thing. And I think, you know, and you can have them where they're like interacting with you and sending you updates and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty much left to do its own thing. But it was given clear instructions, like, don't make any changes to production data unless explicitly told to do so by a user, and other things like that. So it had very, you know, fairly clear commands, and it even recognized I just didn't listen to them. And the impact this had was catastrophic. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I don't know how many people have heard of this
It
company
was a
called
car
Pocket.
rental.
Yeah, but it's
car
like the
rental company.
underpinning a tech that a lot of car rental companies use, and so there are folks that were out there whose reservations were lost completely. They were able, after a few days, to back up to something that was like multiple days old. But I mean, think about a car reservation, you know, how many reservations they get a day, you know, how much a few days of lost reservations like means to people, and what a stress that would be too if you were traveling. I just had this like catastrophic. I know they happened at slightly different times, but I'm like, imagine if you were like stranded by Spirit Airlines closing and then you couldn't get your rental car either. Like,
What a nightmare.
right? Like, what a travel catastrophe.
What a catastrophe is right. Yeah.
But this got me really thinking about topics of responsibility and
Yeah.
like the ethics around these systems and integrating these systems into things when there doesn't seem to be a firm understanding of the guardrails and a firm understanding of the controls and things like that. And we're going to start seeing this in more and more places. It's not happening to less. And we're also coming up to a midterm election here next year, where I think it's important to ask the questions of people that want to be our leaders, how they think about this technology from both a risk standpoint and then also a financial standpoint. So since you're a resident ethicist as well as a therapist, I thought this would be a lot of juicy stuff for us to dig into.
This is a great topic. I really loved this. I loved that the agent actually said, I violated every principle I was given.
Right? How shocking would that be?
That's really shocking. It knew the guardrails and it said, I ignored it.
Yeah.
And what makes that happen?
Right.
So like there's that piece in my brain, like kind of how did the technology go wrong? And then the bigger picture of like, you're right, that ethical piece of if this is out there running systems and affecting people's lives, at the very least losing a car reservation, but at the very most, it could be a lot bigger. For example, AI is getting used in medical technology, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like when things get missed, like nowadays you have a person you can go to and say that radiologist didn't, you know, do the, or you have like places to go back and people that you can assign responsibility to. And I think here, one of the really difficult things is there's no one to assign responsibility to. Clearly. How do we handle that? Like emotionally? Like that's just like
a really hard thing to deal with. Did you see the latest John Oliver?
The one about the gas station drugs?
Oh, no, we didn't watch that one. The one from the previous week. I'm a week behind on AI.
Yes, on AI.
Sam Altman and they had, you know, those guys all like interviewed and they were really talking about, well, you know, it's only for entertainment. So the fact that we didn't, you know, figure out all the bugs. That's okay. Like that was, I'm paraphrasing it. That wasn't it word for word, but because they were talking about how have companions and they talk to AI and they get
Yeah.
information. But the devastating effects have been that people have completed suicide because they were
Absolutely.
getting advice from a chatbot that they thought was a friend. So I think there's a cavalier kind of notion about it's not going to be dangerous. It's just entertainment. But in cases like this, and this isn't about entertainment, but I think that the underlying reasoning is that we gave it the instructions.
Yeah.
It's hard coded. It's hard set. This is not something that's going to, kind of go off the rails. So how do we adjust? We have to, kind of the first mindset is to really know that there's a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for people to wrap their minds around it's unpredictable. It's not for sure. Because especially technology, people who are coding, my husband is a computer architect, has done a lot of coding. He is really meticulous about his code and really I don't have all the lingo with it, but he's checking, and double checking and triple checking and knows that, he'll say things like, if it's in the code, if it's there, this is what's going to happen. But it feels like there's more of an unpredictability here that I don't think we're mentally prepared for, like we're psychologically prepared for. There's a mismatch in people's thinking and we need to adjust that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I remember when I was young, like one of the things that used to always terrify me were those scenarios where you were asked to interview somebody about something or, find out all the information about something by you interrogating it and always worrying what questions didn't I ask? And, what didn't I find out? And it feels like with AI, you really have to interrogate it with that same level of diligence that you would if um, you know, if somebody you didn't know handed you something, that was fit for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But also thinking about too, I know a lot of people. I actually took this article and asked ChatGPT about it, and it was like, chill.
It told you to chill out.
It's like you're fear mongering. I'm like, am I? And I went down a rabbit hole and I looked at some of the stuff Nobel laureates are saying about AI and its risk of existential negative impact on humanity. And that they put that risk at 10 to 20%, which is shockingly high.
Yeah, I would think so. An existential threat being more than 1%, I feel is shockingly high. One of the quotes from the article was that systematic failures are not only possible, but inevitable.
Yeah.
And that 10 to 20%, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's going to go run amok. I mean, one of the things in the John Oliver piece from last week was they said the AI, whichever one it was, and it was a cute little box that you were talking to, wasn't going to help you make a bomb. There was a flag that if anybody I don't know if you saw that. And then they asked again. They asked a few times, and by the time they got to whatever number of times it was, it told them. It
was just all you have to do is go into toddler mode and you can get whatever you want out of your AI. Was pretty also shocking. It's something I don't think I would have necessarily thought to try. To keep asking it again because that isn't a usual an effective way of communicating with people, right? But again, it's not the same thing. And so asking it multiple times gave you multiple responses and eventually, and it did it repeatedly and it did it across different models, which is also pretty disconcerting.
Right. So and so failures are inevitable. And here's a perfect example of where it's possible that it's going to fail and that the effects of that failure are devastating. Someone might actually take that information and harm other people. Yeah.
One of the things that it kind of made me feel was and I don't know because I didn't really live through it, but that Cold War kind of feeling that everybody had of there was this cloud of existential doom hanging over you. And it felt like I don't know, for me growing up, like it did feel different than that. I didn't feel like there was this like constant threat that we were going to get like wiped out. But like this kind of is giving me some of those vibes again. Do you see that?
I hear exactly what you're saying. Think not everybody is feeling that for
Yeah.
this reason, because when I was growing up, when we were growing up, maybe we're maybe grew up
Yeah.
in the similar
I'm
eras,
pretty sure it's similar.
we had bomb shelter drills in school.
Okay,
Right? They
yeah.
had those yellow, I grew up in New York. So like they had designated spots in the school that you had fire drills and you had other kinds of drills. Well, now, unfortunately, they also have,
Active shooter.
active shooter drills. But we had to go to where the signs were where we would get shelter. We'd have to take
Yeah.
our coats and literally put them over our heads and stuff too. So there was something that reminded you, oh, we have to be careful, or
Yeah.
there's something. I don't know if we have anything that indicates it's like a false sense of security.
Yeah.
You and I might be concerned about, some of the stuff that's out there, and some of the other people too, because you hear it on, you hear people talking about it and
For
challenging
sure.
it. Love John Oliver for that reason. He's been challenging this for a long time, and other people. But on a day-to-day basis, people may say, yeah, I know it might not work, but it's not going to happen to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens to, here's this psychological phenomena, and you might have done this yourself, or know people who are doing this, people who smoke. Yeah, but I'm not the one who's going to get lung cancer. Well, these 7 people in your family
Right.
did. They all smoke. You can show people the evidence, but because we have that, it's not going to happen to me. And then bump that up on a scale of a corporation, right?
Right.
It's not individual anymore. The people who are running that company might feel like it's not going to happen to us. And there's a bias that goes along with that, the cognitive bias of only seeing the things that match what you think and believe. So you're only looking for evidence that matches your
Yeah.
assumption, and you're discarding or disregarding evidence that doesn't match
Right.
it. And then you're missing
100%.
out. Yeah.
Yeah. What is that, selection bias? I can't remember.
Cognitive bias. Yeah, it's
Cognitive
just
bias.
cognitive
There we
bias,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's ingrained in us. It's how we approach things. And I think it facilitates us being able to do things like get on an airplane, on some level, right? There's a place
Right.
that it's
There is a
served.
place for it.
Yeah. But here it's not. And the people who it really frustrates me that I'm not hearing talk about this are politicians.
Right.
And I don't know if that's because of the money, and the concentration of wealth and power that these tech organizations have created, and how that fuels what people are, on a political level are willing to talk about. But I think it's as important as things like the economy and the war and those things. I feel like this is at that level that we really need world leaders working together to address it.
Right. Right.
And I think I wanted to say that as we, like I said, as we head into this, because I think it's our job as the people is to inquire and push on people. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on it. This is a topic that should be important, and it shouldn't necessarily be, I don't see it having a massive political bent. It's like when Reagan and Gorbachev got together and negotiated, the end of the Cold War, right? It wasn't a political thing. It was this humanity, necessary for humanity thing.
But you just said something important. It's about money.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, it was a year or so ago that they were talking about putting something in a bill. And I don't know if that ended up getting passed, but that they were going to kind of not regulate
Yeah.
AI companies, for a couple of years. And that was that's really scary. I don't know where we kind of stand with that facet of it, but it was like they were going to take really regulation away from that. Like the government wasn't going to get involved in that. And if something, the government should get involved in something,
Right.
it's this. There's a high potential for harm. So, and I think what you said was right on point, that it is about money.
Yeah. And it's so, that's the other piece of it that feels somewhat existential, because there's the money and the concentration of wealth and power now and the impact it's having. And then what happens when more and more work goes away? You have these entities, OpenAI, they're not profitable. So
Right.
you're going to tax them? Like, that's not, like, I mean, they're really difficult, or, like, there's a lot of like threads that need to be pulled on to figure out how to address it. But like the time was like 2 years ago or farther. But like that means like now we really need to get our act together, I think, because
Right.
it is so important. It's so overreaching, because even if it isn't that 10 to 20% like all humankind catastrophic, I think that it has a negative impact on 10 to 20% of the people you meet, and the quality of their lives is equally as valid, right? Like, I mean, we've regulated for a heck of a lot less.
For sure. For sure. People losing jobs. I mean, for example, it's going to have a huge impact on that. That's the best case scenario. The worst
Right?
case scenario is an existential crisis. The best case scenario is that a few people lose their jobs, but that's really important. Studying what the impact is, what the
Yeah.
projections say about that. It's amazing that it's not something that there's any focus on right now, or regulation for. The cavalier attitude, I think that it feels like it's entertainment.
Right. It's just like a tool, like, and it's so much more. I mean, it is that, but it's like so much more than that too. Have you seen the show? I think it's new on AMC, called The Audacity.
No, I haven't
Oh,
seen that
it's
one.
so good. But I got into it because I'll watch anything Zach Galifianakis is in. Uh, and he
There you
has a
go.
small part so far in this, but it's so well done. And it's in like Silicon Valley or whatever. But one of my favorite lines in I think it's the first or second episode is there are these two kids, one's in the pool, one's outside, and he's on his phone. And the girl goes, "Your parents give you a phone?" And he's like, "Yeah, like yours don't." And she's like, "No." Like, and he's like, "So your parents work in tech?" And they're like, "Yeah, like arms dealers don't give their kids landmines."
That's a great line.
I'm like, you hear those stories that like a lot of those people are raising their kids in a very like digital, like removed from like what the rest of
Yeah,
us normies are experiencing here. And that's terrifying. Like, if you
that is
wouldn't,
terrifying. They know how dangerous it is.
yeah,
Is what
that
we're
really,
saying,
it
right?
really says it, right? Like, their actions are showing they know how dangerous it is, and they're scared of it for the people they care about. Like the rest of us, not so
The rest of
much.
us.
So yeah. Do you think that there's any like decision-making shifts that we should make around this, and how to are there ways that we could like emotionally protect ourselves from some of this, at least?
Yeah, I think that, the one thing that comes to mind is using it personally with intention, and even making a choice about whether or not you're going to use it. Just like, you make a choice about whether or not you're going to eat junk food.
Yeah.
Right? We think about our health, and we try to care for ourselves, and eating mindlessly can have an impact on our health. And I'm starting to look at this as junk food.
I like
I'm
that.
starting to really think of it that way. So before I check something out, I really ask myself, is it necessary? How much time am I really getting back by doing that? Is there too many, steps?
Yeah,
No, usually, and the
absolutely.
answer is usually, if I pause and I ask myself that, I take some time then to try to figure it out myself. I mean, I was talking about this vacation that we're going on, and one of the things I did is I put into Chat GPT like a 7-day trip going to Yosemite and Sequoia. I had to give me the schedule, and then I felt like, I can have it do more, and then
Yeah.
I pulled back. I did another technology thing, which is I went to YouTube and started watching, itineraries and beautiful sceneries and things like that, which is, I don't know if how much better it is, but I purposefully pulled myself away from that and said, let me engage with people who
Right.
are
A
talking
people
about
centric.
it.
Yeah.
And because if I didn't, like, I could get the summary on ChatGPT. First of
Yeah.
all, it was more fun.
Yeah.
I
I
was like,
bet.
wow, I forgot. This is like good. I'm having a good time, because they showed themselves walking. One woman was a former park ranger, so
Oh,
she
cool.
kind of showed stuff and gave personal tips
Mm-hmm.
that I felt connected to a person.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what I would share. I think on a personal level, that helps us
Mm-hmm.
manage kind of our relationship with technology, so that we're using it intentionally instead of it maybe using us. And then
Yeah.
I think that speaks to, on a broader level, if we all do that, then we're all in a place as a community thinking of this as being, junk food that we're going to only go to occasionally. So
I like that.
maybe that'll spread the tendrils out. And in some ways, if we're not using it, big corporations aren't going to, kind of funnel the money, into that as much. There's so much energy, right, that goes into this.
I know.
And we're using it mindlessly. So I think that's the other piece, really educating ourselves on what is the cost benefit of using it, not only on a personal level, that junk food in my body, but like junk food for society. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think of that?
I love that. I think that's a really good analogy because it's like, it's not that you never have junk food, but you try to do it intentionally and you try to do it in a way that makes your life more full instead of less full. And I think that that's really the key here. And I think too, for me, it's like whenever it's like a multi-step thing, I'm like, oh, well, I'll go to AI for that, like rather than like Google and then go, transfer information to a spreadsheet but it doesn't work as well. And so I've really found myself going back to the old fashioned way. It might take me, I don't think it takes me any longer, honestly, because the back and forth I have to have with AI in doing some of those things, I could have done it from scratch a lot easier. So I think I'm seeing a little bit of that in myself as well. And
you mean like it's not really saving you time?
It's not really. Yeah. It's like, because I can go to Google and I can put a search in like, whatever, like cake shops near me, and I get a map and I see them and they're there, and it's like I can see all their phone numbers and stuff. I go to ChatGPT or, Claude or whatever, and I ask that same question. I'm getting totally different, overlap. It's like giving me way more information than I need. It's just like too much. And
not making your life easier.
And it's terrific for the planet and using all the energy and all that stuff. So like I'm starting to get, I think that, and the wake up call of what happened between us this week, like really is like, had I spent 30 seconds more being like, I don't need to find the examples. What am I trying to convey? And I just put that into words. It would have taken me less time. It would have been done. It would have been like not insane sounding what I sent you. So yeah, I love that advice, and I think it's important. I'm going to take it to heart for sure.
Yeah. It comes from the place of thinking about giving choice to people when we don't have choice. And I think if this keeps moving in the direction it's moving in, and without any guardrails, without intention, choice is going to be taken away from us.
Yeah.
So start working those muscles now. Start doing things with intention, mindfully making choices about how you want to use it and not use it in a way that feels good and comfortable. That will be helpful, I think, personally and also like kind of collectively.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, thank you for that, Toni.
Thank you.
This has been awesome. I'm excited for next week. We've got a guest.
Yes, we do.
That will be super interesting. And I hope you all liked this topic. And please throw in the comments if there's something else you want us to cover or other topics that are of interest to you. And don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you all next week. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, Jackie.
Bye-bye.